Hello, everybody. This is Big Chonis. Thank you so much for joining me and my good buddy, Big Cheds. We're going to talk some Bitcoin price action. It's been a while since Cheds and I have done a show together. Sounds great. Everything sounds good. But I'm very excited to talk about what's going on in the Bitcoin price action. Guys, as you can see, I have the heat map up here looking at all sorts of red. So I'm curious to discuss and what's going on with Bitcoin. Bitcoin, Big Cheds, say hi to the people tonight.
What's up, everybody? I am Big Cheds. You can find me, of course, on Twitter at Big Cheds if you don't follow me. And for those who do not follow my good friend here, he is at Big Chonis of Chonis Trading. We've been trading together for many years. We love to argue about stuff, and that's kind of how we started doing YouTube shows a couple years back. Is we were just, hey, let's just argue on camera. So we've been doing that, having a lot of fun with it. So here we are. What are we? You said you're looking at a heat map, Big Chonis. What are we looking at here?
A couple days ago, we were over $10,000, and a lot of altcoins were just still holding up. There was some pullback. But Bitcoin was able to regain 10K, and we were seeing a lot of coins still have that bullish momentum. And then over the past 2 days, Bitcoin has lost almost $1,000 of a price action, taking a lot of the alts with it. As you can see here, these are where most of the market cap shows. And as you can see, other than a couple green squares here and there, this bearish price action in Bitcoin, again, 3% in 24 hours. Bitcoin dominance here, 63%. We're going to take a look at that as well and to see how, it's been correlating with the altcoins there. But Cheds, let's get right into the charts, if we may. There we go. And I kind of wanted to start with a couple here. So, I'll get the daily chart up here. I want to talk about a few things. We had such a bullish rise. We definitely have this channel that held strong all the way up. Higher highs and higher lows preceded. But that's changed the past couple of weeks here, as now we're putting in lower highs and lower lows. The daily candle just barely tagged the 50, okay? And we're seeing back-to-back bear volume here. Cheds, what say you?
Well, I have a quick question. So that's the 50, the red line. What are those two other moving averages? I see that cross. Is that a 12? The orange line, is that a 12? And what is the blue line? I just want to know what these moving averages are, just for everyone who's watching.
Okay, well, I said the tag the 50. So the brown is the 50.
Okay, so what?
Okay, so yeah, getting there.
What are those?
So the MA200 and the MA100. Now, I guess we can talk about the MA200 because it had been resistance on this back test here. And remember the first attempt back above, this was quite a bullish trap. But being able to regain that, especially with this bullish advanced Bitcoin have, was so notable. Where's my wand? That maintaining that MA200 is significant. So MA50 first tap, okay, kind of feels like we might actually be revisiting that today in today's price action. Again, we're only about $60 away from that, but the more meaningful MA moving average would be maintaining support above the MA200. Perhaps a wick below could be a buying opportunity. But $8,800 and $8,800, represents so much historic price action. While I have it up, Chad, just real quick, I just wanted to take a look at all the oscillators, kind of scrolling through here. I put out kind of a funny tweet earlier about which ones I felt were bearish, which ones I felt were more bullish. Just quickly here, we are still holding the higher low on the OBV. The chalk and money flow still, this is the RSI here. Daily RSI below 50. It's always a bearish signal for me. We have this triple tap here of our daily stochastic. Normally we can range here for some time, but because the daily stochastic has not only just reset, but continued its bounce on the bottom here, it kind of feels like it's more than likely due for some sort of a support in any advance, even if it's a weak one at that. This is very important here, chalk and money flow. We're still above that zero line. The zero line does represent positive money flow in the market. And until we lose that, you could argue that there's still bullish money flow. And lastly here, our MACD, bearish histograms, still above our zero line here, really beginning to spread out here on a full beam reach. Cheds, anything to add on the oscillators?
Well, I was just taking a look. If you look at like the MACD, you can see it's been beaten down. That could be getting close to bottoming out, and the stochastics. But I really use a little simpler look. What I like about you is we kind of do things differently. I like to use the RSI for like hidden divergence, continuation divergence. I like to use on balance volume to tell me. You talked about the chalk and money flow. Mm-hmm. I like to use the OBV to tell me if people are loading or if they're dumping. And that's generally, I like to add that to my analysis. I'm also a Japanese candlestick trader, so I'm heavily focused on what the candles are and the volume behind those candles to kind of see what's going on. So we can still see that.
Well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about those candles and what are the daily candles showing you?
I mean, the daily candles, you'd have to say bears have the edge short term right now, but it's really in your perspective. This is a correction within an uptrend, very clearly. And you just have on your screen the beginnings, I think, of that head and shoulders reversal that played out. If we kind of go back, I think it was December, the end of last year. No, the head and shoulders bottom big Chonis. Okay. So we were just looking for perspectives, and the point I'm making is this correction period. We have these big red candles. They're near Maribozu's. We have a little bit of an upper shadow and a lower shadow on this most recent candle, but that's a bearish candle. There's not like head scratching or fear mongering volume per se. But we do see the price testing the lower demand area, lower support. We have the February 19th candle. We have this whole consolidation range from the end of January through beginning of February. So there's some bullish confluence here, especially if you kind of take it into consideration the Bollinger Bands. We're trading at the lower Bollinger Bands. It's the first time all year we've dipped below that. I know you were looking at that earlier too. Here we are. So we're just reaching below the lower Bollinger Band. Looks like we closed pretty much at or below for the first time, I think, this year. Generally speaking, when you're that oversold, you're gonna have some kind of bounce. All the time with these types of candles, big Chonis, you get like what's called a harami, a bullish harami, a small spinning top. It's a small real candle body inside the prior body. The question is, what's the volume, right? So if you get a harami with strong bull volume, that's a better indication of the bulls kind of taking back over than just a little bit of volume in there, and you maybe even begin to form some type of a bear flag or a bear pennant. So we have to kind of see what the follow up here is.
So a bear flag or a bear pennant, is that what you're expecting, continuation, that we're just getting going here?
No, I mean, I think it's also reasonable to think we might test that upper trend line, that low range support line. We have three touches now. We have two tweezer tops, the second and the third point. Didn't really hit it on this last point, this most recent tweezer, but essentially you have that kind of clear lower highs.
The tweezer top, something you were talking about a few times on Twitter as well. Is there a better example of kind of a back-to-back tweezer here?
Right.
We have almost the same endpoint on both of them. The second one was even more, and we had this complete reversal, bearish engulfing really on both the follow-ups.
It's a bearish engulfing. Just a couple words in that. Ideally, for a stronger bearish engulfing signal, you'd want a smaller white bottle, a smaller, little bit of wine tonight. You want a smaller white candle for the big red candle to engulf. Well, really, you're looking at the volume. This is a good amount of volume. You have more volume on the second candle than the first. It's not overwhelming, but it really paid off. You had some follow through from that. You revisited the middle point of these two green candles. That's where you fell into trouble, right? And then boom, we broke through a lower low on the wick.
Yeah, I want to talk about the horizontals. We're looking at diagonal resistance. We're looking at the recent areas of support. But if you kind of zoom out a little bit here, I actually want to get to a higher time frame. Let's do the 3-day. Guys, 54 of our closest friends watching us. What's up in the chat room? Jay Constant, TM something, CY, yo. SS Swartz 88, always counting you, buddy, for being here. DeFred, Christian, very good to have you guys here. Guys, say hello. Remember to hit that thumbs up button if you appreciate our content here tonight. This is Big Chonis here, and we're talking with Big Cheds.
Big Cheds, at Big Cheds on Twitter. Make sure you subscribe to Chonis Trading on YouTube.
Yeah, definitely hit that subscribe and thumbs up button. I wanted to talk about horizontals. Cheds and I have been trading Bitcoin for years now. It's amazing to even say that. And I remember back in 2018, 2019, when we were in this range, the low 9,000s, and a lot of it was, will it hold? We had so many wicks here back in the summer, okay, where we were arguing, are we doing some sort of a descending triangle here? Arguably we were, in the way that it played out, broke down, kind of retested the apex of said triangle, only to break down further.
Oh, you're really illustrating how important the level this is, Big Chonis, because this was your back test level where it was rejected on the descending triangle breakdown. And when you broke through, this is a big level you want to turn it into support. So that's really jumping out to me. On this, what are we on, the 3-day? And I'm glad you looked at that. This is pretty much a Maribozu. We're right at that key level. This is the key level, the bottom of the descending triangle. You don't want to get back beneath that, because then that becomes some serious resistance.
And just the fact that it was support, super support, and we fell through. We back tested it, still holding that resistance from support to resistance. We broke through it. Here we come, Bitcoin 10K. We did it, and now we're just back testing it again. So if you think about this from the longer term perspective, we are back testing, and for the moment. And I say for the moment because Bitcoin things happen quickly. But the $93 to $9,100 area, historically speaking, Chad, especially in more recent price history, is a very important area to find that support. Let's keep moving here. I want to talk about the order book. I do have, this is Coinbase Pro, and I want to talk a little bit about the order book. Now, I've been, you trade enough on Coinbase Pro and other platforms, you get used to the order book, and you look for certain things. And over the past couple days, I've seen the order book basically set up both ways. If you ask me now, we're setting up kind of bearish here. Don't look at this as walls. Walls don't create support. What walls tell me is that we're actually building areas where people are looking to scale in on the bid side. And there's a lot more money down south here. That's why the angle of the ask is so much lower than the angle of the bid here, because you have more money expecting and hoping to fill their bids. When the market is very bullish, this kind of flips, where you have the bulls advancing with a very tight range, and you see walls on the bear side as you basically have BTC stacked on the assumption that they will get filled. And that's kind of what I'm watching right now. And I could give this to a slight lean to the bears, although I've seen much more bearish order books.
So from what I understand, we've talked about this, is the fact you kind of have just almost looks like the red is kind of charging into the green, like it's slicing in like a knife, right? When you talk about those walls on the bid, what you're saying is those are people who are expecting to fill, right? They have these big orders. They expect they're going to fill at 8,900, at 9,000. So where it looks like it's counterintuitive, right? It looks like, oh, there's big bid support. There's a big bid wall. But a lot of the time that actually ends up being bearish, kind of. So you want to, it's a little bit counterintuitive, but if you're going to use the order book, and I've seen you do this many times, you're a great trader. This, from what you've showed me in your view, this is bearish.
It's just what the market expectations are, and that correlates to where the money is. These are live limit orders on both sides. So these are actual, I don't know if they're actuals, but at least the computer is showing that these are priced at these orders. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean they can't be pulled at the last minute, be fake orders, whatever, spoofs. But when we tend to see a lot more dynamic price action, I try and determine where the money begins to flow based on which side is stacked or not. And again, the signal I'm not seeing here, it's kind of neutral, with a slight edge to to the bears here, just in the lower time frames, basically from 10-2 basically into the high 8s here. You can see a lot of orders seem to be stacked there. Let's move on to a couple other charts here. I did want to bring up Bitcoin dominance, Cheds. This is a big one. This definitely has a lot of correlation to altcoins. We've seen a tremendous pullback of Bitcoin dominance from September of 19. Cool little tweezer here. 72% dominance is where Bitcoin found its support. And as it slowly has been declining, I will say it, an alt season of sorts was clearly in play. and especially the last few weeks here, where you saw a tremendous dip here in the dominance as tons of money went into a variety of altcoins. There were some big winners, stuff we definitely are used to seeing in crypto, but the way that it touched more or less across the board was notable. And as you can see now, Bitcoin bouncing from 61% up as high, now 64, showing that as the entire market pulls back, altcoins are taking it on the chin.
So it's interesting though. So we were surprised that for like the last end of the year, we were commenting and people were enjoying the fact that altcoins were being loaded even as Bitcoin was rising. So we had that kind of a unique market scenario. Like a lot of the time, it's like when you're trading altcoins, Big Chonis, you're trading them when Bitcoin is consolidating and going sideways. You know what I mean? Normally that is kind of sets up the best scenario, and then when you have it pulling back, it kind of depends. Some run with, some run against. But we're looking at the dominance. We see kind of almost like a bear flag back here, right? On the dominance, then we have this V bottom forming. The question is what's going to happen from here? Let's say the dominance goes down even further. Would that suggest to you that people are kind of moving more into altcoins, or going? What would that suggest to you if the Bitcoin dominance breaks, say that 60 level?
Well, that's exactly what it means. That money flow is moving to altcoins. The thing that is a correlation here is that as Bitcoin dominance rises, it's not necessarily bullish for Bitcoin. It can be the market itself can be just falling across the board, and just Bitcoin is falling less, which is understandable. Altcoins definitely have a higher risk, higher reward situation to them, and when it all comes back down to it, in all of crypto, there has to be a better. There isn't a better safe haven other than just Tether USD or just flat 1-to-1 than Bitcoin. So it's a safe haven within a bear market, and we're definitely seeing that. But still, 64% on the dominance isn't definitely knock your socks off as well.
So we're getting there. We're in that 9,300 break. I think for a lot of people psychologically, 10K was a big level, but they're still pretty comfortable with 9. Would you say kind of psychologically, Big Chonis, that if we start to break 9, you might see a little more panic in the market? What are your feelings?
Panic is a relative term, people where some see panic, others see opportunity. From just a classical, where are we and what are our expectations? If we just take our, as we talked about earlier, our inverse head and shoulders bottom bounce here, most recent, we've only kind of just begun. We talk about, look for the pullback, look for the golden pocket, maybe you go 50%. You can still see we're just kind of getting going here. And that's meaningful because to keep this in perspective, we have to realize this was a tremendous move here. This was almost 100% move here, maybe 80% move in Bitcoin. More meaningful Fibonacci retracements, 8,900 at the 382, a full 50% retracement, 8,400, or the golden pocket, little under 8K, still maintain the overall uptrend, but definitely would reset Bitcoin's price action significantly.
So how would this play out if from an Elliott wave standpoint, we just completed the fifth wave, right? And then we're consolidating. How would it play out if it was bullish? Give me just a basic scenario from here on out.
Well, we're in 3 of 5 or 5 of 5 or 1 of 3 of 5 or 5 of 1 of 3 of 5 in an ABC or WXYXZ correction. Clearly, the argument that this can still be a bullish, very bullish 5-wave pattern here, where in some way this was a very extended 3, and we are still in our 4. Now remember, a 4 can come all the way down to where 1 ended, as long as 1 doesn't break, okay? And that can still be 78%. Ironically, in the golden pocket, okay, is where potentially 1 arguably ended and 4 could go retrace back to for a 5 extension. Now, the 5th extension, though I believe can be higher than where 3 ended, because 3 was so long compared to 1, I would see some sort of a truncation more than likely, comparing our 3 to the worst case of a floor pullback to the golden pocket. a simple 786 to maybe 1-to-1 can bring us back to either a double top or up to 11K, which would coincide with a cleaner 5 count. So this tells us two things. We can still be in a bullish uptrend, even if Bitcoin goes all the way back to as low as potentially $8,000.
I love it. That was brilliant, Big Chonis. You're a treasure, man. Appreciate that. So I guess we're just kind of getting towards wrapping things up. What do you think we should look at? We looked at the Bollinger Bands. We looked at volume, heat map. We looked at order book, a few other things here. What do you think people should stay focused on going forward?
So I like using higher time frames. We can argue all we want about the 15, the 30, the 45. 45, yes, the 45. But our higher time frames with our more, patterns we like to use, look how high the price is still from any meaningful cloud support on the daily. The 3-day has taken us back into the cloud after having acted as wick support. And the weekly, we are still stuck in this cloud, and this can take us in a bound range as we get later in the year, potentially as high as 11K, but again, back to the low 9s or potentially breaking through it and finding it as resistance. I love how the price action hugged our cloud beautifully. And I remember tweeting this when it happened, that we broke that right there, and that is still the much confirmed now local top, 10.5. Wouldn't you like to have sold at 10.5 if you were long, or short at 10.5? Heck, if you were long.
And I think a lot of people saw Big Chonis the potential for a double top. There was just almost a run. People thought a little bit too exuberant, perhaps, from that head and shoulders. And people were looking for a double top. So when people take profit there, what they want to do, they want to buy in the dip. The question, where's the support? Where's the support? And we'll have to see that. We talked about that confluence right around 9K, the bottom of the descending triangle. There's all sorts of prior consolidation zones where Bitcoin consolidated on the way up on those most recent runs. So that's going to be a logical support to look to. But I love doing these shows. We'll have to do more soon. I want to remind you can find me on Twitter. I'm at Big Cheds. I'm a founding analyst at Bitcoin Live. I'd encourage you to check that out sometime. And you got to follow my man, Big Chonis. He's on Twitter at Big Chonis, and here he is.
Thanks, Cheds. Yeah, listen, we are still only early in the week, okay? The weekly candle is definitely pretty rough so far. We have put in a lower low from last week's low so far. We're basically right at it. And we still have a long way to go in the weekly price action here. Areas that from a horizontal, still remain very important are literally right here, just a break of 9K. It's been strong resistance, support, resistance, and this breakthrough was meaningful. I remember a lot of people talking about how 8,500 was kind of their line in the sand. Closed over 8,500, and we're in a nice bullish market. That area really needs to be held strong if you could really quantify the uptrend as a whole. But listen, retracements do happen. Dips always happen in Bitcoin. The question is, are these opportunities that going to present ourselves, and where are we going to end up as we get closer to the end of the month? Real quick here, the monthly candle here. Cheds, this is a scary looking monthly candle here. Still got a few more days to go, but if we close the month out like this, what say you?
I mean, it's pretty clearly it's a shooting star, even though it's not a shaven bottom. It's also a bearish harami. So it's a kind of it's obviously it's a short-term pullback candle. It's I would say it's a green light, maybe going yellow, maybe turning red. The volume's not overwhelming on it, so I wouldn't rush to the exit, but it's definitely green light turning orange for sure, if not red.
Yeah, I think to follow up from January's price action, definitely don't want to close the month out looking like this. Bulls really got to step it up here to close out the month at least with some sort of a spinning top here, which can definitely still fly both directions. And I'll definitely see where the month of March brings us in Bitcoin price action. Guys, thanks so much for joining us. Please hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button. Big Cheds at Big Cheds at Big Chonis. We'll definitely do this again in the near future because we definitely like talking Bitcoin. We don't always agree, but when we have our arguments, they're definitely fun, and we like to invite you along as well. So until next time, Big Chonis here. We'll leave you with the heat map here. And as Bitcoin is around $9,200, stay tuned for our next episode. Guys, have a great night. Peace.